Hi everybody, welcome back. My name is Sanji and I'm here to talk to you about how much it costs to transit in Melbourne without a car. So we'll be talking about public transport, ride sharing and car sharing costs. So a couple of years ago I decided to move to Melbourne, and when I made that move I thought I'd do it without a car, and there's two reasons for that. The first reason is Melbourne has great public transport. There's trains, trams and buses that pretty much get people from A to B, especially if you're trying to get in and out of the city. If you're trying to go around the suburbs, then it can be a little bit challenging. But anyway, in and out of the city, it's great. Secondly, I realized if I was going to try and find a place to live, especially in terms of renting a one-bedroom apartment, it's generally easy to find a one-bedroom apartment without a carport. And if you are looking for something that has a carport to park your car, you usually have to pay up to $30 to $50 extra a week just so you have that privilege. And that can add to your costs of living in a city. So based on this, I thought I'll move to Melbourne without a car. If things get desperate, I can always buy a car at some point anyway. So after spending a couple of years in Melbourne, I thought I'd look at my numbers in terms of how much I spent on getting from A to B without a car and share those numbers with you, just so you guys have an idea of what it's like. So in 2019, I spent a total of $2,800 in transit costs. And that's made up of $1,800 for public transport, that's trains, trams and buses, $550 for ride sharing, that's things like Uber, Didi and Ola, and $450 in car sharing, which is mainly with GoGet. I'll talk a bit about car sharing later because I know that's a bit unique. All up, that's an average of $233 a month I was spending just to get from point A to B. And that's generally going from home to work during the week, maybe going out a few places during the week as well. And then whatever I'm doing on the weekends, which might be going to the city or going to see friends or going to things like church on a Sunday. So that's the cost that you're looking at. Now the comparable things if you own a car would be looking at, car registration, car petrol, insurance, etc. So in terms of those costs, the ride sharing $550, that's always going to be a expenditure, I guess. There's not many opportunities to try and cut down on that. I do jump between using Uber Pool. I also do jump between using Didi and Uber and sometimes Ola. I usually just say, if I'm going from this place to another place, you can pull up all three apps pretty quickly and just check what the prices are and get an idea of how long you'll have to wait and how long it'll take to transit. And then I usually just pick the cheapest one from that. Most of the time it's at Uber Pool because I don't mind. I'm usually not in a rush to go anywhere when I'm taking a car like that. So that's probably the best time to use Uber Pool is when you're not in a rush and you would like to save a bit of money. The GoGet is a bit unique. I think a few people probably would live in a city and never need a GoGet. It's really there if you ever need access to a car that you want to be able to drive to go from A to B. If you are, say, moving or you're helping someone move and you need to hire out like a van, or maybe you want to take a trip away for a couple of days. But the whole idea of GoGet is they have cars all over Melbourne, and if you ever need to hire out a car, you book it on the app and then you go and they give you a little swipe card, use a swipe card to unlock the car, and you get charged in half-an-hour increments. So there's a time component and then you also get charged for the distance you travel. If you need a car for like a full couple of days, they have a full day rate, which also includes 150 kilometers worth of travel. So that can be a good option if, say, I used that once when I was moving house between houses and I just hired out a van for like the day. And it worked out better for me to just hire out the whole van for the day than hiring it out for maybe 3 or 4 hours here and there. I'll go into a bit more detail down the track around maybe the comparing between owning a car and using public transport. But the key call out in public transport versus a car is obviously the convenience and also the time component. And I saw this recently. I went for an event after work, just went out for hanging out with friends, and then I thought I had to get home and I had two options. I could either take public transport or take some kind of ride sharing. And I've got a little screenshot here, and this was a great example of where for taking public transport, it would have taken me something like 40 minutes. And instead to take a ride share, or if I had driven my car, it would only be 10 to 12 minutes. So that's a good example where I guess if you did have a car, it would be much more convenient to just go from A to B really quickly. But in this case, because I didn't have a car, I just took an Uber, and the Uber ended up costing only $6, I think. I'll just show up receipt. And that is, I guess, the alternative. So I guess that's the reality, is there's going to be situations if you rely heavily on public transport where you really do need to decide between waiting a long period of time to go on that public transport journey or just taking a ride share to get home as quickly as possible. I think that's quite common, especially if you're also traveling between suburbs, then the public transport's not great. If I just needed to get in and out of the city at that time of day, I think it was like around 7:30 p.m, would have been really easy. But in this case, I had to go between two suburbs, much easier to just take a ride share. That's it for today, guys. If you have any questions or things you'd like more information on, just leave a comment below, and be sure to like and subscribe for future content like this. And if you have any other areas that you'd like more info on, living in Melbourne or whatever it is, around public transport or car sharing, feel free to leave a question on that below as well. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.